Today we're going to be working on the Lowrey Ez-10. You'll notice that this is an Ez-10 Plus, but for those of you with Ez-10s or those of you with interest in them, everything that I go over today is also applicable to that instrument. One of the first things that people notice about the Ez-10 is it looks eerily similar to the Ez-4. It actually will sit in the same exact footprint as the Ez-4. It has the same amount of keys on both the lower level as well as the upper level. So therein lies the question, why would someone invest in an Ez-10 if they already have an Ez-4? And in just a few minutes, I think you'll be able to tell that there is a big difference despite how close they look in terms of their panel and their size. Right off the bat, we have the opportunity to turn on lights on both the upper and the lower keyboard. I know for many of our customers, they like to play later on in the evening, sometimes in the middle of the night if they can't sleep. Well, you have lights here. You also have lights on the panel. Allows you to see a little bit better in maybe a darker climate, darker time of the day. Now, a big change in the panel between the Ez-4 and the Ez-10 are these numbers here in the middle of the instrument. When you couple these numbers with this larger screen, these two things in and of themselves, in my opinion, justify the difference between the 10 and the 4. In this screen, not only can I see the tempo, the chord, and the key that I'm playing in, as I could in the 4, but you'll notice I have a couple more lines worth of space where they can put some information in. So now for the first time, when I choose a style, I can see the name of the style and what is on each level of keys. I don't know if you can see this from where your vantage point is, but it says Frank in the count. I reached up and hit standard. And I have the trombone on the upper keyboard and the piano on the bottom keyboard. The advantage to that being I know what I'm going to hear before I hit the keys. Here's a rhythm style that is shared on both the 10 and the 4 called Frank in the count. Now, on the Ez-4, if I wanted to change from the trombone and the piano, I would have to start to reach up to the right-hand side here. On the Ez-10, that is not necessary because I can simply go through these numbers. These numbers I often equate to the preset radio stations that you have on the radio in your car. Why are those numbers on your car radio? Well, to allow you to keep your eyes on the road. Well, this is the same general principle with your setups here. There are 5 setups which change both the top and the bottom keyboard. I have an original setup of trombone and piano, but if I go to number 1, the piano has shifted up to the top level and now there's a clarinet on the bottom. Number 2, vibes and jazz guitar. Number 3, the jazz organ and the scat singers on the bottom. The strings and the flugelhorn top and bottom. And then finally, the full band and the trumpet. So when I'm looking to make a quick change, I have my original arrangement, which are 2 sounds, plus another 10, 5 on the top and 5 on the bottom, before I even need to consider reaching up to the right-hand side. My hands are here. I can quickly change to those next buttons without really having to move very much. Now, what is on those buttons is dependent upon the buttons to the left-hand side that you happen to have chosen to use. These are the settings, the ones that we just went over, which would be likely to be used if I was playing a Frank Sinatra, a Count Basie song, maybe Dean Martin, some of the Rat Pack. But if I were to have chosen a country rhythm, I'm not going to get those same sounds on these numbers. If I were to choose a Hawaiian rhythm, more of a march or a polka rhythm, these buttons will all match that type of music. Now the style setup button in and of itself, I can turn off. When I turn this button off, it turns these numbers to new, what we call general setups. And the general setups are called that because they generally work with anything. So if you take into account the fact that you have style setup and these numbers, turning style setup off, you have access to these numbers with different sounds on them. That means that you have 12 options with the style setup and another 10 options with the general setups before you even have to reach up to the right-hand side. Something else the Ez-10 has on it are foot pedals down on the floor. Now, if you've ever been to a Lowrey workshop, one of the long-held jokes at Lowrey when customers would ask, what are these foot pedals on the floor for? The quip that's usually responded to with is this: they're so the instrument doesn't fall forward. Now, we obviously know that that's not the real reason that those pedals are down there on the floor, but the Easy button does render those pedals to be not as essential as they used to be. They're not on the Ez-4, they weren't on the Ez-2, and they're not on the Ez-3 Cadet either. Well, because of that, Lowrey said, well, if we are going to include pedals on some of our intermediate and larger equipment for the customers that do still play the pedals, they are a select few, but they're out there. Well, we'd like to give those pedals some functions for people that may not play them in a traditional sense. And that is something that the Ez-10 has incorporated within it. If I choose for example, a country beat, and I turn on my style setup here, I have country guitar on the upper level of keys here. Well, if I go into my features, the first feature that comes up is called bass pedals. And if I hit select, I can see that although it does say normal, I can change it. I can change it from normal to glide sustain. That affects every one of the pedals down on the floor and allows those pedals to now either glide or sustain. Now, for those of you that have Ez-10s or other Lowrey instruments, you may be saying to yourself, I believe that I have that same feature on my expression pedal. And it's likely that you do. Only the entry-level instruments, and this would have been in the older series. In the new series, all of the instruments have a feature on their expression pedal which allows you to both glide and sustain. But here's the advantage of putting them on the bass pedals. When it's connected to your volume foot control, that means you can inadvertently change the volume. Whereas if it's on your bass pedals, either long pedals or short pedals, it is not as likely to happen. When it's on your volume foot control, sometimes there's the potential of your foot staying on the pedal without you realizing it. And if that happens, it sounds absolutely terrible. All of the notes on the upper keyboard are going to sound wrong. Whereas if you're stepping on the pedal, I've found that students are less likely to hold the pedal down. And it really creates a nice effect. The glide, I'm sure, is something that you've heard before, but to be able to step on a pedal and get it to glide is really something special. If I have a beat here, now you'll notice it also says sustain. Now if I was using something like the piano, one of the great things about the Easy series is that this lower level can very easily be turned into a piano. Well, piano players, when they sustain, they don't hold down a foot switch that's attached to the volume foot control. They step on the sustain pedal, which is the pedal all the way to the right on the piano. I often joke it's the only one that's ever dirty, the only one that's ever really scuffed up. Well, if I go back and turn on the sustain, now I can allow the bass pedals to act more like a sustain pedal. And for someone that plays the piano, this is a much more natural way to sustain. So if I start out here, and there's your sustain. Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't go over some of the new styles that are on the Ez-10. You have your song setups, but you have new buttons. You have new buttons like ballad for the first time. You have buttons like pop, like mix, like Broadway. And some of these have some great styles on them. The ballad in particular, one of my favorite buttons because it has some great styles on it. For example, one called Wonderful World. Now, what song do you think you might play with that? One of the great things about Wonderful World is if you are going to play Louis Armstrong's rendition of Wonderful World, there are places in that song where you hear a horn come in the background, sometimes some strings in the background. Well, this is another one of those predictable rhythm styles. A style which, if your timing is right, will fill in the blank for you. And let me show you what I mean. We're going to hit an introduction. I'm going to play a C chord. We're going to play a little Wonderful World for you. And what I'm going to do is, when I pause, I'm going to take my hands off of the keys. And I want you to hear what the instrument does in filling in for me. It's really something wonderful. Now again, the instrument knew where my pauses were. Now I paused a little bit longer than I normally would to give you the opportunity to hear that horn come in, but it fits into the song perfectly. Sticking with the ballad, going to the guitarist option, I have a perfect rhythm for the House of the Rising Sun. Now, sticking with the ballad, I'm going to go to pianist. Now, this is something that you will not see in your owner's manuals. This is a little sneaky tip that I give our customers here at Keys to Fun. If you go to Ballad Pianist, you play your first chord, you get a perfect 50s ballad. If we're going to play something by Elvis, or I'm going to play Twilight Time, but on the right-hand side of your foot pedal, we spoke about the left already with the glide. Well, the right has something called a fill. You have a button that says fill, but starting on the Easy 4, you also have a foot switch on the right-hand side of your volume foot control, which will also allow you to fill. The benefit of that being you don't have to keep reaching up to hit the button, because it will turn itself off essentially at the beginning of the next measure. If it's not being held down, it will turn itself off. Well, I want to teach you something really cool about the Ballad Pianist. Now, this does not happen with every rhythm, but it does happen with this one. I'm going to play a chord, and I'm going to hold down the fill. You're going to watch this light. Now, it's going to cycle through. Now, listen to what happens. It's given me a different rhythm style. If I take my foot off, it's going to go back. I'm going to push my foot over again. It's got to cycle through. And what a perfect rhythm if I was going to play Memories from Cats. What a nice variety that you can get just by simply pushing your foot over to the right-hand side. Let's visit the pop option. Pop has a great ragtime piano. But if I go to guitars, it has one called Guitar Standard. And I love this rhythm because one of my favorite songs to play is the song Hotel California. And this rhythm style works perfectly for that song. It's got a nice guitar in the background. It is going a little bit fast here, 140 beats per minute. But I think you'll be surprised that that speed actually seems to match that song pretty well. If you play your first couple chords, rhythm style there. If I go over to mix, I have the basic shuffle. I have Liberace's Candelabra piano, which is a great rhythm style. Turn your introduction on, you're going to hear the flourishes of the keys. I only have one ring on here, so you're going to have to forgive me, but Lee has many more. have the basic shuffle, the one I started with here before I went over to Liberace, which is perfect for something like Crazy Little Thing Called Love. I know Queen is back into the mix now because of the new movie that came out not too long ago. Well, this is all you need to play a little Queen. One important thing I'd like you to realize about what I just did is by hitting number 5, not only did it change the sound on the keys, it obviously would have changed down here as well, I just didn't play that, but it also brought in some drums. It did that as well when I played the House of the Rising Sun. So not only do these numbers change the sounds on the keys, it also changes the backgrounds to a degree as well. If I go to traditional pianist, I have a classical piano, which is something that I have on the Easy 4 as well. But if I go to number 1, it's a harpsichord. Well, I get a harpsichord in my background also. If I go to number 2, I get a harp in the background. So again, not only does it change the instrumentation on the upper and the lower set of keys, it also changes the instrumentation in the background. These numbers are tremendous. The last thing I'd like to cover with you today, and we could spend a lot more time, but I think we're getting close to the end here. Pedal magic. Pedal magic is one of the most revolutionary things that Lowrey has ever come up with for someone looking to see how they can learn to play the pedals maybe for the first time or better. What the pedal magic does is it is a fail-safe. The pedal magic knows the note that you're supposed to play. The organ knows the note in the foot that you're supposed to play. And it knows the note in the foot that you're supposed to play because the chord is what determines the note in the foot. That's why when you play your easy button, you don't have to play your feet pedals. All of these pedals down here with your feet do not have to be played because your easy button is fixing that for you. Well, let's say I want to play the pedals myself. Well, if I just turn on a chord here, a C chord gets a C pedal. How do I know? If I turn down my chord, I'm hearing that rumbling is a C. Well, if I change to a G, the rumbling is a G. Rumbling is an F. Rumbling is a C. Now, this is not including any type of rhythm style. Styles might dictate you changing to multiple pedals, but if you're just using your easy button, very easy way to explain it. The name of the chord chooses the pedal. Well, if I turn my pedal magic on, and I play my chord in my left hand, and I push down the correct pedal, it will play the correct pedal. If I mistakenly push down another longer pedal instead of the one that I was supposed to, now there's a little play in these pedals. I'm pushing it down just slightly, and before it rings out, the instrument knows the pedal's moving. The mechanism in the back is transitioning in order to make a sound. Well, if the pedal magic is on and the pedal that is being pressed down is the wrong pedal, what the instrument does in a split second's worth of time is it actually takes the sound from the correct pedal and puts it under your foot, so that by the time your foot hits the floor and the pedal sounds, the sound of the right pedal will come out of the wrong pedal. Let me show you what I mean. I'm going to play a C. My pedal magic is on, So by right, I should be hearing a C pedal. Okay? When I play my chord, instead of playing a C pedal, I'm going to play a G pedal. And listen to what happens. I'm still hearing a C. The instrument knows I'm supposed to be playing a C. Now let's say I play an F. If I play an F and I push down an F pedal, that's exactly what I get. But if I play an F chord and I mistakenly push down an E pedal, the sound transfers from the F to the E in a split second's worth of time. The amount of time it takes me to play the chord, the correct sound is taken from the right pedal and put onto the wrong pedal because the instrument knows you just made a mistake and I'm going to fix it for you. And that is an E pedal playing an F note. It doesn't get any more magical than that, which is why it's called pedal magic. Now again, we could spend a lot more time going over many other features on this instrument, but I wanted to give you a little bit of a run through. If there are any questions about things that I did not go over, feel free to reach out to us by emailing us, giving the store a phone call, or commenting on our website.